They told you America's booms were built on hard work and freedom. They never told you about the deals, the ones that traded the nation's future for profit behind closed doors. We begin in the age of faith, the age when Americans believed the boom was theirs, permanent, secure, unbreakable. They believed they were different. They weren't. Empires don't die in a day. They weaken in plain sight, in silence, one decision at a time. America didn't begin its economic decline with war, poverty, or a market crash. It began with a deal that benefited a few at the cost of the many. The 1,950 seconds were the golden age. Made in USA meant quality. Jobs were stable. Wages boomed. The average American believed no, knew that the future would be better than the present. But behind the optimism was something else. The first cracks. Not in the factories. In the boardroom, a new idea was taking root, one that would take decades to bear toxic fruit. Why manufacture at home when you could cut costs abroad? Why pay fair wages when you could pay pennies overseas? The first wave of offshoring wasn't loud. It began quietly. One plant shut down, one contract moved, one supply chain relocated. It looked like efficiency. It was actually erosion. Decade after decade, this move became a doctrine. Corporate balance sheets loved it. Wall Street celebrated it. America's industrial heartland. It started to die. Factories closed. Wages stagnated. Inequality rose. But the metrics the elites cared about kept climbing. GDP, market indexes, corporate profits. They told Americans this was progress. They forgot to mention the part where jobs left forever. They called it innovation. It was betrayal. As factories left, a new beast grew in their place. One that didn't value steel or labor or production. One that valued paper. Welcome to financialization, the second betrayal. By the 1,980 seconds, Wall Street had learned something intoxicating. You didn't have to build anything real to get rich. You could just trade paper, create derivatives, package mortgages, invent products with no physical form and no ceiling. And so America shifted from an economy that produced things to an economy that traded things. It felt like a boom because it was a fake one. With every new derivative created, every hedge fund launched, every shortcut taken, the gap between financial markets and the real economy widened. Because workers don't benefit from price to earnings ratios. Families can't live off quarterly earnings calls. Meanwhile, Wall Street believed they had cracked the code. Money didn't need industry anymore. It didn't need workers. It just needed velocity. They were wrong. Because financial booms always turn into financial weapons, and by 2008, those weapons were pointed inward. When the system collapsed, it wasn't the banks who paid. It was the people, their jobs, their homes, their lives. Wall Street got bailed out. Main Street got wiped out. They told us this time it would be different. It never is. When the real economy weakens and wages stagnate, one thing fills the gap: debt. Not all debt is bad. Productive debt builds roads, businesses, futures. But this was dependency. Mortgage debt, student debt, auto debt, credit card debt. Every part of the American dream now had a price tag attached. And once again, this wasn't inevitable. It was strategic. Because when you can't pay your workers more, you lend them money. You don't fix the system. You finance it. The result? America now has more debt per household than any country in human history. Not by accident, by design. Banks discovered something powerful. Debt isn't just profit, it's control. A citizen with savings is independent. A citizen with debt is compliant. And so America, which once exported goods, now exports debt instruments. The nation that once led the world in industry now leads it in liability. The cracks are widening, and they're about to split open. America thought it could outsource its labor and still own the world. China had other plans. When America shipped its manufacturing overseas, it wasn't just moving jobs. It was moving wealth, technology, knowledge. China didn't complain. It watched. It learned. It built. America was obsessed with cheap labor. China was obsessed with national power. The West thought it could extract value without consequence. Instead, it created the single greatest economic rival in modern history. By the 2000s, China wasn't just making t-shirts. It was building ports, satellites, megacities, tech. America didn't lose to a stronger nation. It built the nation that would replace it. They thought they were saving money. They were funding their own replacement. This is where the game got personal. Homes, land, assets. These used to be the foundation of middle-class power. Then, institutional money showed up. Private equity, hedge funds, asset managers. They didn't want to lend you money to buy a home. They wanted to own your home and rent it back to you. And so began the commodification of daily life. Water, real estate, healthcare, everything had a ticker symbol. Ownership died, rentership rose. You don't get stability that way. You don't build legacy that way. You get dependency. The middle class wasn't kicked out of the game. It was priced out. Assets are inflated. Wages are flat. Debt is everywhere. Welcome to the everything bubble where price doesn't reflect value. It reflects desperation. Stocks, bonds, crypto, housing, all pumped by one thing: cheap money, artificial interest rates, quantitative easing, free liquidity. Money wasn't real anymore. It was simulation. The system needs endless growth, but the real economy can't deliver it. So the market pretends. The bubble expands. History says it must burst. But here's the catch. This time, there's no safe asset left. Something dark has emerged. Collapse isn't an accident anymore. It's a strategy. Economists call it extraction. Insiders call it exit. You build the system. You suck it dry. You cash out. You leave. The losses, socialized. The profits, privatized. The model works. For a while, and then there's nothing left to take. Every empire reaches this moment. The moment where the math breaks. Where the illusion ends. Where the debt outgrows the dream. America is here. The question isn't whether the system cracks. The question is who gets crushed beneath it. The elites already made their choice. Now it's America's turn.